Okay, now, before we get into all this, I just want to say that this is not a kid's show. This show was not made for kids. It was intended to be on Adult Swim for adults, all right? So just so you know, you're warned. Okay, now let's get into this. Okay, so I know we usually talk about all the shows that we know and love, but what about some of the ones that never officially got picked up? It's high time that I explore some of these. This one just so happens to be the one that caught my attention first. A show known as, hold up, it's going to take me a little second to get this. Cheyenne Cinnamon and the Fantabulous Unicorn of Sugartown Candy Fudge. Yes, bit of a freaking mouthful right there, but that's the full title. And by the time the title would be pronounced, the episode would already been over. So, do what you got to do with that. I mean, this is quite the what the fuck show, really. It's about a blissfully unaware, out of touch with reality pop star. You guessed it, Cheyenne Cinnamon, who's all about her image to the public, which isn't a great one. I'm sure you can see why. Though she's really even worse behind closed doors, being a unhinged drug addict lunatic. So kind of like a double life kind of situation, which is it's really a pop star thing to do, isn't it? The whole leading a double life thing, not the freaking drug addict part, okay? So put that in your pipe and smoke it if you will. So she lives in some sort of candy land right outside of good old Detroit, Michigan. She would just go into the city and just help the locals out through her mystical pop star powers and, some other unconventional methods. Which in this pilot, the only episode ever made for the show that is actually known, it happened to be about just a little light topic of teenage pregnancy. And I believe other episodes were going to be tackling tough issues like this as well. I think I heard one was about racism, so that was just kind of going to be the grand overall theme of the show. Cheyenne Cinnamon helping out tough problems like that within Detroit, Michigan, through her magical candy powers. Hey now, I'm just here to share the facts of the show. I mean, after watching the pilot itself, which I could only find on Daily Motion, if that tells you anything, I really don't know what to say. Of course, it's just a messed up show as you can expect. I mean, the very first scene is literally a dude throwing a baby through a window just so he can rob the store for a bunch of TVs along with a mob of people. So if that doesn't tell you much about the story, then, I don't know what will. Then the story goes on to tackle a teenager who got pregnant by her softball coach. She enlists the help of Cheyenne Cinnamon, and Cheyenne Cinnamon brings up some rather messed up methods. I'm sure you can think of those. So quite literally, this was a crazy-ass TV show. And at one point, Cheyenne Cinnamon even gave the girl some magical jelly beans. Yeah, she drugged her, I guess as her method to try to relax her. So, like I said, the show was fucked up. Anyways, throughout the episode, there are some songs about doing cocaine at Cocaino, the cocaine-spewing mountain. Might I add, Cheyenne's magical flying unicorn was rather fond of this place, and you better bet that they took quite the detour there. Songs about remaining abstinent through other methods, and even one about democracy in America. This is where we can really see Cheyenne's pop star side that she shows to the world, and at one point even taking her clothes off to do so. So like I said, her image to the public wasn't all that much better. Again, I'm just stating what was in the dang show. I didn't make it. Oh, and they even had a theme song too. The story itself concludes to Cheyenne taking Emily away from her newborn child. Yes, the girl had a name and was voiced by Kristen Shaw, who, if you don't know, voices characters such as Louise from Bob's Burgers and voiced Mabel from Gravity Falls. So it was just really out of place. The whole damn show was out of place. To add on to the ending and the whole reason for taking Emily, the plan was to, I guess, take her to Vegas, as she said, which the baby was included at first too, though they left it behind. I'm not sure what really happened there. Miss Cinnamon ended up finding Emily in some random Detroit trailer with some dude who was passed out with a gun in his hand, sort of resembling Mr. Slim Shady himself, and there was a bunch of other babies around there as well, crawling around the floor and whatnot. I can't believe why this show was never even picked up. How could it be? Now, I'm not saying it was the most messed up show out there or anything. I'm just saying it was really wacky, okay? Now, at the end of the show, it ended in a paparazzi chasing alcohol-induced crash while on her unicorn with Emily and Gummy, another little character, all on board. The very last thing we could see is Emily getting beat up by the police right in front of the burning city. The police even had some sort of a transformer looking thing with one of those military flails, so it's kind of like a futuristic setting in a sense. Either way, I don't know, and if you want to watch it and make your own conclusions on it, that's on you. Take yourself over to Daily Motion for all that. Regardless of all its edginess, the show actually had a pretty wild voice acting lineup, with MF Doom as a chocolate bunny, T-Pain as a gingerbread bouncer for the Candyland place, and Nico Case as Cheyenne herself, who, if you don't know, is an outspoken musician in real life as well. Oh, and of course, Kristen Shaw, as I mentioned before. Like I said, quite a damn lineup, being that there's only about 5 characters actually talking in the pilot itself. So I wonder if all of them would have reprised their roles in the actual show, or if things would have ended up changing, because you know that usually ends up happening anyhow. Now, I wasn't a big fan of the show itself, and the 3D style certainly has never been my thing, but that doesn't mean that others weren't interested in the show, because they were. And after being featured on Adult Swim and a Box, which is a 7-disc box set from 2009, with pilots that were pitched to Adult Swim, and even including some of the seasonal volume releases of the shows that they already had in production. And after this, the show was later released on Adult Swim's website as part of Burger King's Big Uber network sampling. Yes, put on by Burger King and Adult Swim in February of 2010, where fans could vote from different pilots and choose one that they wanted to be picked up as an official show. 8 were entered, and as far as I know, Cheyenne Cinnamon won, because it would officially air on Adult Swim March 29th of 2010. While others, they did not. Now, yes, the official pilot did air, though it never got picked up and there was never any real reason to it. No one really ever said anything about it after this. The only thing that I could find about the creators even talking about the show was from an interview in 2010 at Comic-Con. Some of the people behind the show were asked about it and other shows they were working on, such as Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the same creators. And honestly, after being asked about the show, they didn't even sound too excited about it. Rather, they just said that they had fun making it and it was a different process for them to make, as it was their first time working in 3D at the time, saying that it did really good and they were hoping for the best, which obviously it didn't really pan out for them, did it? Though they did about just everything that they could. By the way, this interview was on July 30th in 2010, just a few months after the pilot aired, so this is just kind of how they were feeling after the fact. Like I said, at this point they were still hoping that it would be picked up, but nothing ever came of it. I just want to say it was definitely an edgy show, and it was sort of all over the place at the same time, and there's obviously some stuff that I'm leaving out for the sake of YouTube, but if you watched it, you would know. It did have some funny bits too, though, like saying that vodka and breast milk make a drink called the titty twister, or maybe it was called the baby tornado. Anyways, I thought that was a decent little zinger that they brought in. Though it's all just wild and over the top as you could expect. I'm not a dang TV reviewer, but if I had to sum it up in any sort of way, it would be that it was a cracktastic, magical experience. And it's worth watching the pilot at least, not that you could watch anything else. Well, you know, it definitely had enough to ruffle up some feathers. I don't really know what I expected by the title, but it surely wasn't this. That's all I can say. All that remains, or at least what I could find, is a trademark application from Cartoon Network Inc. One that is indeed marked dead/abandoned. It was filed on December 8th in 2010. After the show was even aired, and one of the earliest files for the show was from April 23rd in 2007, long before the show was even aired. So clearly they put some time and effort into the application process, though I don't really know a damn thing about trademarking. So, whatever, they tried and it didn't work out in the end. However, I need things to work out for me by getting my ass back to work now, so, bye-bye.